Watch out for
So
that.
let's get. So we're talking about bogus TV. There's
Bogon, or bogus
Bogon.
TV. But well, as John said, a bogon is a unit of bogosity, and he says I can't deal with this domain anymore. I just get spam to that email address, and he plays on video games and that sort of thing, and he's just not really into having his domain anymore. So he was just going to let it lapse, and I said, well, okay. How about I put it up on the web server, and we'll see whether or not anybody comes. And we'll put a website together and
Bogon.com.
Bogon.com. Now, there's a little bit of history in the back. Back in the days of Whimsy, so we hired John as one of our tech support people.
And Whimsy was the first commercial internet service provider in Canada, and he's one of the two people that put it together. He and Stuart Lynn.
John was one of Stuart's original customers, and we turned a customer into an employee. In fact, he was an employee before I ever met him. We've been part of the electronic age for a long time, and work-at-home employees, not a problem. As I said, he was an employee before I even met him.
Well, in 1983, using plain old Radio Shack equipment out of the store in boxes, and with no computer knowledge whatsoever. I've got no computer knowledge after the question I asked you today. But I managed to put together a network. I had the ability to log on to my computer in Ottawa and log on to my computer in Toronto.
Yes.
And log on to all my computers in Vancouver from right over there in that little window where I do most of my work now.
That's right. Yeah.
That was a Xenix system, a Radio Shack Xenix.
Yes.
Xenix, Radio Shack started the whole thing. But not started the whole thing, but they were sure ahead of a lot of other people.
They certainly were. Absolutely.
And then they fell backwards.
Well,
And then is Radio Shack still exist?
The trade name Radio Shack still exists. I think it does down in the States, but I'm not sure just how well they're doing. Up here, they turned into a different store, and now Bell owns them all. Whatever. Anyway, it doesn't really matter.
Circuit City or something.
Circuit City, yeah.
Anyway, so the bogosity.
So
did that just qualify as a unit of bogosity?
No, because we were talking about something that's true.
Oh, okay.
That's an anti-bogosity.
Forgot about that. Okay.
Anyway, back in Whimsy days, one of the first things that we did was we created an email system that allowed more than one domain to exist on a given piece of hardware. One computer could deal with email for more than one domain, because prior to the coming of the commercial internet, it was one domain, one computer.
Well, that made sense because that was it.
That's right.
This box right here was
this box is a particular
address.
domain. And they all have their own addresses, but the name of the box was the domain that box was. So we had Van BC. That was the name of the box, and the email was richard@vanbc. Okay, well, when we put the whimsy.com, it was richard@whimsy.com. Well, so that box was whimsy.com. Well, Stuart had been working on email systems and fax systems for quite a number of years, and
he came up with one of the first, if ever not the first, multi-user fax.
Absolutely, one of the first systems that allowed more than one fax modem to be on a computer. It was used for sending out confirmations from stock firms in New York and California, all over the place. Just huge farms of modems.
We used it to send out
Absolutely.
bills.
Yeah, we used to send. That's right. Anyway, the email system that we put together, I still run the same software. It's still running. Your email goes through it.
Well, I'm glad to know, because I'm still using software from that time.
Hey.
My putty thing is still that original Radio Shack thing from 1983.
This software, we sold Whimsy to iStar, and iStar tried to put their own email system together. They had guys working left, right, and center in Toronto and Ottawa to put an email system together. And toward the end of iStar, when it was like, will the last employee please turn the lights out? Okay. Stuart was still working in Vancouver. And there was kind of the last guy in Ottawa who was given the task of looking after this email machine, phoned him up and says, I can't keep it running. And this is the one that they put together. Stuart said, he took one look at it and he says, that's a pile of crap. He took our software, and in 4 hours, he had uploaded the software to the server in Ottawa, taken all of the login information out of the database in that one, stuffed it down the database that we had it up and running. And the load on the server when the guy phoned was in the hundreds. Like, there was hundreds of processes trying to run on this one little processor. The load when Stuart finished was less than 1 because the software was so much more efficient. And it had been sitting, we'd been running it for our own local stuff the whole time. That software, as I said, I still control it. So it went from Whimsy to iStar.
1985, 86, 87, 88, 92.
Yeah, so we're talking about 16 years, because we put that together in 1993. And for the last 6, 7, let's see, 2001, 8 years. Okay, the last 8 years, I have basically run the whole thing. And I mean, I haven't gone looking for new customers or anything like that, but we've had you and David Hancock and a whole bunch of friends and, people that kind of just hangers-on, okay? And John's domain has been...
Hangers-on to Richard
hangers-on to me.
Computer, not the Hells Angels.
No. And John's bogon.com domain has been on there. Well, about 3 years ago, I spent almost a month working on the email system, not to make it faster, but to try and get rid of a lot of the spam, because over that 16 years, spam has risen from almost nothing to 95% of the email
I get 800 to 900 spams a day.
I mean, it's a huge problem, okay? And one of the things I noticed was that one address, a completely bogus address, never ever been in our database. I don't know where it came from, but one address, KLBYPCU or something like that, at bogon.com, was getting over 10,000 bounce messages a day. Now, a bounce message means that something didn't get delivered. This is what's called a Joe job, okay? The spammers send out an email from them, but with your return address on it.
Yep.
So that when the email doesn't go through, they don't get the bounces back to them. The bounces go to somebody completely different.
Well, I know. I get all things.
This account, this non-account, has been getting between 10 and 20,000 a day for at least 4 years that I know of. 4 years. And that's as far back as I went in the logs. I mean, it might go back even farther. I can't identify it back farther than that, but that's how far back. 40,000 a day. Not a week, not a month. 40,000 a day bounce message. Just bounce message. That's not spam. That's spam that that was supposed to go.
That's the spam that bounced off of another server.
Bounced off another server because the address doesn't exist. And so I thought, well, why don't I start taking some of this stuff that's bouncing back, pull the contents of the email out, because we know it's spam, and start putting that up in this domain and commenting on it. Because what will happen is the search engines will find that, and when somebody gets a piece of spam or something that they don't really know whether it's legitimate, they'll be able to do a search.
Another kind of Snopes or Urban Legends.
Yeah, it's another kind of Snopes, yes, basically. It's not aimed at the technical people. It's aimed at me. The old farts, the guys who haven't grown up with a computer. Well, you and I almost grew up with computers all our lives, but there's a lot of people out there who don't know where their computer ends and the internet begins.
Yeah.
And the spam, some of the phishing, the phishing attempts and the spam is so good these days, you just don't know whether it is real or not. I find myself opening it. Now, I've got a little bit of an advantage over a lot of people because I don't run Windows. And I have ways of opening things that don't invoke the demons that are within. It's possible when you open an email for that email to literally just take over your whole machine and do nasty things to it. And that's basically what might happen. or if you click on a link that takes you off to a website.
Shouldn't make a comment like that. Somebody's going to make a direct attack at you.
You know, it'd be a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the first time.